I want to get into this video and I want to talk about your lifestyle, but then also I want to talk about the lifestyle that I'm living. So what I'm going to say, when it comes to lifestyle, you're probably thinking about the car people are driving, you're probably thinking about where people are living, like inside their house. You're probably even thinking about the people that they're surrounding themselves with. But when it comes to lifestyle, it's really about the choices that you make. Just because you're working on other aspects, such as your relationship, your career, but then also you're working on other things besides fitness, you have to realize fitness is a part of your lifestyle. Because without fitness, you can't lift things. Without fitness, you can't move. And you have to realize it's a lifestyle. Because the thing is, everyone has foods which they really like. And for example, I can't say no to a burger. But if I really want to be eating burgers, I need to find healthier alternatives. And when it comes to having a drink, for example, so I like apple juice as well, but I don't seem to have apple juice often. I only have it on a special occasion. And instead of having apple juice, I try to have smoothies. And even that, I don't seem to have smoothies that much. It's mainly just water and Fanta. And the thing is, when you're thinking of Fanta, you're probably thinking all the other flavors is so fizzy. But I normally drink the orange one. And that's really the only fizzy drink that I drink, and water. And when it comes to really the food that I'm eating, I've probably done it in other videos. But when it comes to my food, I normally think about how I feel afterwards. So for example, I may eat pasta, I eat oven cooked food instead of fried food. And I go to the gym now because it's an investment towards myself. And before, I used to spend money on dating apps to see who would like me back. But you have to realize the girls that you're attracting on dating apps at the moment, especially in my case, because it's not really consistent and it's not really the girls that I may like. But the thing is, there may be one or two that I did like, but then they wasn't feeling the same way back towards me. So that's why I'm not wasting any more time in my 20s. And by going to the gym, I'm able to attract more people in person. And I probably said this in my recent video. But when you attract people to you, it's completely different to chasing people. So that's what I'm going to say, because when you're chasing people, your attention isn't even on yourself and you become desperate. And I wanted to say that relationships is not something that you have to rush. And that's something that I'm still learning. I may talk about it a lot. And just because I talk about it doesn't mean that I'm thinking about this 24/7. And that should be the same thing for you as well, because when you're so focused on yourself, you're not trying to escape reality, but you're trying to improve your reality. And you want it to be that every single decision that you make and the people that you surround yourself with, they motivate you to work harder. Because you have to think about it. We only have one life to live. We only have so much we can give. And also, you don't want to be giving away energy to people that wouldn't do the same thing for you. Because you have to realize, people always say that energy is transferred, but it can't be destroyed. So when you're transferring your energy to people that don't care about you, you're transferring your energy to toxic people, you're transferring your energy to really your pleasures. And the thing is, you can't delay gratification. And that's what I'm going to say, because, for example, if you're lusting, if you're always eating too much, if you're always outside, but then you're never really inside focusing on your purpose, you have to realize that when you're outside for such a long time, but you have no reason for doing that, you realize that one, you're wasting your time, but then two, you have to realize that the people that you're surrounding yourself with, you need to start questioning, are those people helping you in some way? And the thing is, I do get it, where you work hard, you play hard, but you have to realize that if you're always working so hard, but then also you're playing so hard, but then also you go above your limits by drinking too much, by being around people too much. Because you have to realize, if people were your real friends, they will understand that you're working hard, that you're locking in, you're focusing on yourself. Because you have to think about it. Every time you're making money, if you're spending the same amount of money that you're working hard for, you realize you have no money that you saved, no money you invested. And you realize as well that when you're spending it on yourself or other people, you realize that those people as well, they're doing the same thing. So you're not only affecting yourself, but you're also affecting other people. And what made me to lock in is because I realized that I haven't really got that much time. But then also, if I don't lock in, I don't want to feel like I'm behind. Because you have to realize that every decision you make, and making no decision, it leads to a consequence. So when you make no decision, you stay where you are, but then also you feel behind because you're comparing yourself to other people. And when other people are achieving things, you realize it did take time. It's just that when you chose to play around, they just chose to work hard during that time. And that's why you have to realize that in your 20s, I've been told, not only by my family, but also by people that I've seen, like strangers, for example, that are like way older than me. They just said that you should be focused when you're young. You realize that you have the energy now. And the thing is, you're not going to look the same years later, and you're not going to feel the same years later. So you have to realize that we have a limited amount of time. And the thing is, I do get it, that when people say balance, that some people are going to take it the right way and some people are going to take it the wrong way. And hear me out when I say this, because when people take balance the wrong way, they just think that as soon as they work hard, that they can just play hard. And when I mean play hard, it means like resting when you don't need to. It means going out with people that you know aren't good for you. You're trying hard to build something for yourself, but then you have to realize the people that you're surrounding yourself with, if they are the wrong people for you, they will do everything they can to distract you, but then also they could ruin your reputation. And you have to realize that self-image is so important, because the way you represent yourself is the way people are going to treat you. And I realized this as well because once I started to lose weight, people started to take me more seriously. Because I'm taking care of my appearance, so people are going to take me more seriously. And at one point, I had so many spots on my face that I remember this instant moment with like my dad, for example. And this happened years ago because I think we were waiting to go into a bank and it was outside on the high street. And then because I felt so awkward, because you know how cars stop at the traffic lights? The reason why I remember this moment is because it was one of a few times when I was actually spending time with my dad. And my dad isn't a bad person, but he will say whatever's on his mind. And that's really a good thing because you want people to keep you accountable. And you know, for example, how I was telling you that every single time, not that I told you, but when it came to me applying for jobs, it's one of those things where I'm doing content, I'm applying for jobs, and when you go to interviews and it's not going well, you have to realize that it's really all on you. I can't really blame anyone else if interviews wasn't going well. And I had to keep telling my parents that. I had to even be in the house while everyone else was working. And you have to realize that if everyone else around you is doing things, but you're not, you realize it's going to really affect you because it's going to make it feel like you're inadequate. And it's going to make you feel like you're doing nothing, when deep down you know you are doing something. It's just that what you're doing isn't really working. And that really is going to hit some people as well because you're doing everything you can to at least improve. But then you have to realize if what you're doing isn't working, then you're just going to have to try something else. But let me get back to the example that I was talking about, because the reason why I took care of myself was so many reasons. But one of the reasons was because I was spending time with my dad, as I said, and we were on a high street. Because there was a queue outside the bank, everyone was lining up outside of the bank. And then what happened, I had so many spots on my face. And the thing is, the reason why my dad has clear skin like almost all the time is because of the food that he's eating. My dad eats more African food, so that's why I believe his skin is like mostly clear. But then when it comes to me, I used to be eating junk food. I used to not care about what I was eating. And that was one time when I never really took care of myself in terms of physically. And because I had so many spots on my face, my dad asked me, how did I even get the spots on my face? He kept talking about it the whole time. Because sometimes as guys, you may realize that when you have conversations with your dad, it can get awkward. And the thing is, it's less awkward now because I'm working now, so I can just talk about work. So when it comes to guys, for example, it may be awkward when you're speaking to your dad. And we don't know why this happens, but I think because like you expect yourself to talk, you expect the other person to talk, but then the other person expects you to talk. And I think that's why it's so awkward for us as guys. Because when you're trying to talk to your dad, for example, you realize that you may look up to your dad because he's really a male figure in your life. The reason why I'm saying this is because there was awkward silence between me and my dad outside the high street. And the first thing that my dad said was really about my spots, because it was so obvious and it was so bad. And I was hoping that no one would talk about it. But the thing is, when you don't take care of your face, other people can see it. There's no denying it, because people are going to perceive you a certain way if your skin isn't clear. But then when your skin is clear, you realize that you have so much confidence. Because when it comes to your lifestyle, you have to realize that you have to take your health seriously. Because if you don't take your health seriously, you're not going to be productive. You realize you can't take care of other people because you can't take care of yourself. And you realize that when you don't take care of your health, you realize that it's going to affect you mentally. And it's not always physically, but it's mentally as well. And when it comes to physically, it means that your body's going to take long to recover. You're not able to sleep as good. I heard this in the comments, and I'm just going to say this, because it wasn't me that came up with this, but I'm just going to say it because prevention is better than cure. And what that means is that you have to find ways to prevent problems from happening rather than waiting for the problem to happen and then find a cure. Because you have to realize, if you can prevent yourself from living a bad lifestyle, such as having good habits, the reason why you have bad habits is because you started off doing one bad habit and then it started to build up into 2, into 3, and then so on. So for example, if you're always out late, when it comes to having a good habit, set a time that by 10 p.m. I'll do everything I can to be outside, and then I'll be home by 11 p.m. and that's just before midnight. And for example, if you want to be waking up early, so instead of waking up at 5 a.m. because you see so many people do that, and you see so many people do that, and you think you have to do that, but then you have to remember the lifestyle that you're living is completely different to someone else. So instead of you just like comparing yourself to someone else, just based on lifestyle, you have to realize that you can be motivated by people and to see the work that they did so that you do it for yourself. And you have to realize, if you want to wake up early, but you're a person that wakes up at 9 a.m, I used to be this person as well, because any excuse that I would do to just sleep in, you have to realize it wastes a day as well. Because if you're sleeping in until like 9 a.m, 12 p.m, you realize that half the day's already gone by. And then when it comes in the afternoon, you're just waking up, getting ready, having a shower, brushing your teeth. And then you have to realize that a day is wasted. And then you have so much energy in the nighttime, but then everyone else is asleep. That's a whole day wasted because you're not used to working in the nighttime. When it comes to lifestyle, it doesn't matter how big the changes are, but you need to make some type of changes. Because if you realize you're not taking care of your appearance, if you're waking up late, if the people that you're surrounding yourself with have the lifestyle that you don't want, you need to start surrounding yourself with people that have the lifestyle that you want. So the main takeaway of this video is to surround yourself with people that have the lifestyle that you want versus the people that have a lifestyle, but it's not really what you want. Because you have to realize you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And you want information that you can actually apply to your life. So that's the thing, because me saying this is very simple, but it's really hard to put in practice. The last thing that I'm going to say is that life is really simply a game, and you're doing everything you can to level up. And for example, why is it that you can level up on a video game, but then when it comes to your real life, you don't want to level up? And you need a wake-up call as well, because until things are taken away from you, that's when you're going to start improving your life. And I'm going to say this as well, because once it's game over, it doesn't mean that you give up completely. You have to realize that once it's game over, you just start again. Because it's like a video game, but you want to apply it to your real life. You don't want to spend so much time on a video game that you don't seem to have a life in real life.